And welcome everyone to our first Ticket in 2022 webinar. I am joined here by lots of friends who are excited and experienced ticketers to share some of their remarks and stories about how they have introduced the ticket program. And I'm really excited to connect with all of you today. So Ticket is an education and outreach program, which stands for Trees into Cartons and Cartons into Trees. And it's a program that has been sponsored by the Paperboard Packaging Council since 2010. My name is Emily Leonzik. I am the Director of Marketing, and I am really excited to be able to talk to all of you today about how to ticket in your organization. Before I go on, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a recap as to what you should expect from today's webinar. We're going to go through some welcome and introductions so that you know who you're speaking with today, talk about what is Ticket, how do you ticket, what are the benefits of the program, how to create ticket ambassadors within your organization, reflections of a first-time ticketer, and then really open up the floor for any questions that you might have. And so before I go on, I'd like to introduce Ben Markins to come to the stage and say hello to us.
Hey all, well, thank you very much for coming. I'm Ben Markins, president of the Paperboard Packaging Council, and I've been ticketing for over a decade, and we have really great success meeting with young folks and teaching them the benefits of paper-based packaging and just telling our story. And also, it's a lot of fun to play with dirt and saplings and young folks. So thank you all for attending, and you're going to hear from some really experienced folks too. So thanks, Em.
Sue, off to you.
Hi, my name is Sue Appleyard, and I'm the Director of Corporate Communications for Graphic Packaging International. I've been a ticketeer, as we call them, for 10 years now, and I am really excited to share some of our learnings with you today and hopefully get you excited about the program.
Thank you. Allison.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allison Lewis. I am the Corporate Communications Coordinator for Graphic Packaging on Sue's team. I would ordinarily love to show my face, but today is the day my camera decided to not cooperate. But I have been ticketing for, I'd love to say the past 6 years, but really not since 2019, sadly. So I am excited for us to be able to hopefully get back to it here soon.
Thank you so much. And Beth.
Hey everyone, I'm Beth Geiger. I am Senior Manager of Growth Marketing at WestRock, and I have been ticketing since 2019, which has been interesting because our first ticket event was in person, and then we had to think about it a lot differently after that. So have enjoyed that partnership with Emily as we've ticketed in a virtual environment as well.
Thank you so much. That's a really good segue into what does the program look like today. And so we'll talk a little bit. We'll hear today from Brian Hunt from Southern Champion Tray. And this is a little introduction from our full virtual ticket presentation that we created last year with the help of everyone on this call to take Ticket into the virtual setting. So I think one of the exciting things that we have to offer today is that Ticket can be in person, Ticket can be virtual, or Ticket can be hybrid, depending on where you are and what are the parameters of the classrooms that you might be entering. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the floor over to Mr. Hunt to talk a little bit about what is Ticket.
Paperboard packaging is everywhere you look. Milk cartons, cereal boxes, even tissue containers. Created by the paperboard.
Yep.
Paperboard packaging is everywhere you look. Milk cartons, cereal boxes, even tissue containers. Created by the Paperboard Packaging Council, Ticket is an innovative education program that teaches students about the role that trees play in the environment.
Hello, my name is Brian Hunt, and I work for Southern Champion Tray, which is headquartered in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We're a company that produces paperboard packaging for the food service and bakery industry. We at Southern Champion Tray are so proud to be a part of one of the most sustainable industries in the world. And today I'm excited to introduce you to Ticket, which stands for Trees in the Cartons and Cartons into Trees. This program is being brought to you by the Paperboard Packaging Council. And the Paperboard Packaging Council is an association, like a business community. It represents all different companies across the country that make up paperboard packaging. This packaging is packaging you'll find like in your kitchen cabinets. So go in your cupboard, you'll see cereal cartons. You may find a toothpaste toothpaste carton, macaroni boxes, or even French fry scoops. It's all of this that makes up our industry that is incredibly sustainable. So my friends and I today at the PPC, Paperboard Packaging Council, are excited to talk to you about trees, paperboard, sustainability, and recycling. So at the end of this video, plant a tree sapling into a paperboard carton. This carton will be planted directly into the ground. The carton is a real life look at sustainability. As this tree grows and the carton that breaks down into the earth is going to biodegrade. As that process occurs, then we can reclaim the tree, take the tree, produce more cartons. And that's why we call it cartons in the trees, trees in the cartons, or ticket as we like to call it. So come with me and all of my friends as we teach you a little bit about paperboard packaging, and you'll learn why we're so passionate about trees and paperboard. Thank you.
All right, so Ticket, if you have some takeaways from Mr. Hunt's video, Ticket is a two-part program where you enter schools or share the Ticket video with a classroom, and you talk to the students all about what makes trees so great, what can be made out of trees, and then really hop into the industry perspective. You know, how are trees a crop? How is paperboard packaging recycled? What are the benefits of paperboard packaging? And then at the end of this education presentation, the idea is that all of our member companies help create a carton, bring that into the school, help each student plant a tree sapling into that paperboard carton, and then bring it home with them, not only to share the story of sustainability with their family, but also to take a look at the real life example of the paperboard carton and how it's biodegradable. I will say that the Ticket presentation that we put together, and I can say that everybody here is actually featured in that full 20-minute Ticket presentation, which is available on ticcit.info, has made it really even easier than ever before. You know, when a lot of teams start this program, they say, oh gosh, I have a PowerPoint presentation, and what is the script and what am I talking about, and how do I talk to this 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade student? And so that 20-minute video, whether you're sending that to the teacher, using that as a tool to say this is the Ticket program, whether you're sending that to the classroom to say, hey, please watch this and then join us after to plant a sapling, or whether you're just using that as a training tool within your organization, we really feel like the 2021 challenging pandemic, the positive outcome was this video made with all of our Ticket partners. So we really like to take a look at how to ticket and break it down into 3 very easy steps. For the first step is deciding what is your timeline, contacting your local elementary school administrator. We suggest that the program is geared to 3rd, 4th, 5th grade students, right about the time that they're learning about photosynthesis. That seems to make the most amount of sense and really spark some energy and thoughtfulness around what they see at grocery store shelves and the program that we're teaching them. So contacting your local elementary school administrator, there's an outreach script for that, so we've really tried to make these steps pretty easy and give you all the tools that you need to be able to go and activate the program in your local community. Step 2 is assembling all of those supplies, and we have a checklist for that. Okay, we need the sapling boxes. We have a die line template for you to be able to use if you are producing those in-house, reviewing the presentation, reading through the script, deciding whether you're going to be doing this virtually, in person, or a hybrid. And then step 3 is hopping into the classroom and presenting Ticket, having a lot of fun. And I can tell you that over the years, there has been a ton of customization of the Ticket program, and being able for the teams to be able to take a look at the program and come up with some creative ideas to engage with the students. And some of the outcomes have just been really kind of brilliant. And I think that it's fun and engaging for the whole team. ticcit.info/resources is going to be really where you're going for all of the downloads. And we've tried to organize these into steps. What is the initial outreach? What is your checklist? And then heading into resources for teachers, for educators, youth administrators, and even Ticket at Home. So if you hop into those resources, dig into ticcit.info, you'll find different activities that can be sent out so that you can share the ticket presentation and also have the ticket program live on in lots of ways after the fact. So one of the greatest joys of this program is being able to talk to friends like Beth and Sue and Allison after they've been able to present the ticket program and talk about what does that look like? How has that impacted the team? How has that impacted the students? And so I'd like to open up the discussion with my friends here to talk about some of the very specific benefits and the outcomes of being able to organize and put the effort into the ticket program. And first of all, it's this team building. So, you think about, okay, you're going out into the community and what's the impact on the students? But I think before that even happens, there's a huge benefit of that team building and that interaction within your organization. So I'd love to hand the floor over to Sue to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. And really it's a nice way to build teams, especially people that may not work together on a normal day-to-day basis, because there's a lot of different areas of your company that you'll find interest in this program. So it's really great for people to meet each other that they normally wouldn't work for. And we've also found a lot of success with people who have children that are school age, that would be targeted. It gets them very excited about wanting to present at their child's school. And really, gathers up a lot of excitement around that. So it's really been a great way to not only engage within a site, but across sites throughout the organization too, just kind of comparing best practices.
Fantastic, thank you. And then, heading off into the community, and what does that look like in terms of building your network and being able to build connections with local schools and youth organizations? Beth, could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of what Sue just said. It really is a great opportunity to engage the community. We have so many people that it's, school-age children or grandparents that want to go into the schools, or I have a coworker who is really engaged with Scouts, and that they get very excited about working with the community and bringing this program into the schools and being able to facilitate it with their schools or Scouts organizations.
That's wonderful. This was the first time having a conversation with Sue that I heard about this benefit. And this was really exciting because we're constantly talking in the PPC about recruiting and engaging the next generation and, where are we getting our workforce? And so I'd love to hand the floor over to Sue to talk about how you're using the ticket program in your recruiting efforts.
Sure. And this is kind of a new one for us too, but it's really had a great reaction from people that we are recruiting. The younger generation today is very concerned about the environment, and they look to see that companies are doing the right thing for the environment. And so we have a great story to tell where we can show them what we do with Ticket. We're introducing the message to school-age children, but also it's educating a lot of our own employees about the great things about sustainability and what we do for the environment. And we've even had at some of our job fairs or recruiting events, we've actually handed out saplings to some of the recruits to ask them to take them home and plant them. And it really just generates a good feeling about something genuine that we're doing for the community, for the environment, and for our own company.
Thank you, Sue. I just love that idea so much. And I know that having done the ticket program myself and having to learn about, all of these definitions and what does biodegradable mean and what are the benefits of paperboard packaging really makes me feel even more passionate and invested in the industry. So that is fantastic. And then the inspiration of the young minds, there's nothing better. I can sit, Beth, when we did a ticket event and to see all of the hands, 200 little hands come across in a room, giggling and laughing and, planting dirt. There is nothing better than that. And Beth, would you talk about that and what that looks like for you and your team?
Yeah, making that connection with the kids was so much fun, like you talked about, and being able to make the connection between paperboard packaging and sustainability and put that together for them. And in elementary school, it's not, I can't speak for all elementary schools, but at least the ones that we worked with, it's not really curriculum that they're covering right now. So being able to connect that to what they're learning about, and then also talk about, hey, this is you guys open up your pantry like Brian talked about, and you'll see paperboard everywhere, or go to your favorite Chick-fil-A and you'll see paperboard everywhere, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. And then they start to pay attention. And I think you're making a difference right there, making that connection that early for them. And I will add also that the teachers love the curriculum. We started off with one school, a science teacher with one school, and had plans in 2020 to expand it to the whole county. So just because of, that being able to come in and teach that curriculum to the kids, they were very excited about that.
That's wonderful. And then I think, something that we don't have bulleted here, but it's definitely the cherry on top, is that there are phenomenal press opportunities. And so I think that oftentimes it's the reason why our folks here in, running the marketing departments are oftentimes involved in the ticket program. It feels so good. It's so fun. It has a lot of team building, but there's really a lot of opportunities for press and social interaction, and leveraging the program to be able to define your reputation within the community that you serve. So thank you all for your reflections. The reason why, very specifically, Graphic Packaging International has been asked to talk about how do you create an ambassador program is because year after year, their numbers of how many saplings have they planted are really far above any other numbers that our member companies are able to hit. And I think that it's because of your dedication to the program and creating ambassadors, because nobody can do it alone. And so I'd love to hand the floor over to you, Sue and Allison, to talk about how you really have engaged ambassadors across the country, and what tools and mechanisms have you put in place to be able to make sure that you are delivering consistently.
Okay, I'd be happy to talk about that, as would Allison. So first of all, thank you for the shout out, because this has been a real growth process for us too. We started pretty small 10 years ago, and it's just really taken off in the company. And I think one of the reasons it has taken off so much is because of the benefits we've talked about. It is a community effort within the company. And I would stress, first of all, that, and you see the point up here, no one can do it alone. So this is not something that, one person at corporate is going to get all your sites to, take part in. They really have to take ownership of it. So what we do every year, or what we did before it went virtual, is we would set up a webinar, usually about January, February timeframe, and we would reach out to all our sites. And one of the main things you have to do, recommended, is to identify a leader and then a sub team at each site to support that leader. So just make sure that there is, we talk about ambassadors, someone who's passionate about the program, someone who's willing to be a little extroverted, reach out to schools, garner enthusiasm for the program, that kind of thing. So like I mentioned, we kick it off with an internal webinar, and with the help of PPC, you guys do a fabulous job of creating, the checklists and the things that you need to do at certain times. So we create a schedule for everyone, not with specific dates, but basically like, based on the end date of when you're going to have your program. Because you have to be a little bit flexible. We have sites that are up in New Hampshire where there's still snow on the ground in April, and then all the way down in Louisiana where they're raring to go in February. So we have to kind of, manage that. So make sure you stay flexible in your timeline. But we also create numerous touch points. So by that, I mean, we have a lot of check-in meetings. You don't want to just throw supplies to people and say, go have fun with it. You want to make sure someone's checking in with them. We do it kind of on a bi-weekly basis at first, and then much more frequently as you get closer to the date that they're going to have their ticket event. So then based on the third point you see here, based on the timeline where they're going to have their event, just make sure that they have the program materials they need, any questions have been answered, that kind of thing. Allison, I think you can talk a little bit more about how we've personalized some of the tools and some of the things we've done to make it a little more fun and engaging for the students.
Sure. Yeah. So we one of the things that we do, since we have such a large team, such a big company, we have to create a folder essentially on our employee intranet where we provide all of the tools, all of the information they could possibly need to communicate with the schools, if they want to reach out to local media to promote their ticket event, any of the ordering information they need. They have one central location where they can find everything. But also one of the things that we do, PPC, this team here provides all of the information you could possibly need. They're really great tools. And we definitely encourage you to use them, but don't be afraid to kind of make them your own and personalize it. So some of our sites will include, more information about graphic packaging as a company and what specifically we do, talk about their roles with the company and the sorts of jobs that are available in this industry, bring some of the products that we make to their presentations. So we really encourage creativity and personalization, kind of thinking outside of the box as you're presenting the information to the students. Some really great examples, I think, that we have seen over the years. We've even had a GPI retiree who has gone to a school that he spends time volunteering at and shared with the kids there, their local gardening club, the ticket program, and they just had a blast with it. Another thing one of our sites did, they actually went to the great lengths of creating paper mache trees, which they had the kids chop down, turn into pulp, and then turn into paper. So we really want to encourage you all to let your employees know, hey, take it and run with it, make it fun, make it engaging, and make it interesting for the kids.
Absolutely. And then more on the business side of it, make sure that you're creating some kind of reporting mechanism, whether it's just to tally up the number of students you've engaged with, the number of schools, that kind of thing. And also to have a platform where you can share information like what worked and what didn't work, share photos of the day, tips that one site can give another site, depending on the size of your company. But also so you can report back to the PPC and let them know, how successful the program was. It's also kind of fun, I think, to set up goals for your company. So, if you're just starting out, say your goal would be one class at one school or something like that. You don't want to get too crazy at the beginning, but then each year build off that. And that's how we've gotten to, we've done, I think it's something over 160,000 trees over the last 10 years. Because it's just really grown internally. And so one way we do that is we set a goal of either making sure every site participates, and then if the site is participating, making sure that they do at least one more site than they did before, or one more school or scouting organization. So just give, small goals that you want to reach and exceed every year. And then, like I said, it's very good to have a debrief session where you discuss what worked and what didn't work, because a lot of the things that, even what Allison mentioned, some of those were trial and error, and some of them were things that other sites never would have dreamed of doing. But once they heard about it, it was a really easy, fun way to include it in the next year's program. So, where I mentioned here about schedule wrap meeting, make sure that everybody who has participated in ticket comes together for a debrief, and you'll get a lot of energy out of those meetings because people, especially if it's their first time, it is so I can't tell you how fun it is to be with these little kids and just see how excited they get about, like Ben said, just playing in the dirt. What could be better than that? But it's also important to discuss what may not have worked as well, so that you're on point for that the following year. And then the final thing that we've gotten much more active on in the last few years is promoting this on social. You never know who you're going to reach on social, and your employees see, friends, your employees will and want to maybe raise their hand and say, hey, could you come to my school and do this? So you just never know who you're going to touch on social. but don't be afraid of really getting the word out there.
That is really fantastic. You have such great points, and I really appreciate your tips about talking. That's the only way that we learn and learn how to grow, and having those debrief sessions and conversations. Before I hand it over to Beth, I have to give her a shout out because I can't remember when we met, but I know that you were enthusiastic about hearing about the ticket program. And I think I suggested, finding a 20 to 30 person classroom to host the ticket presentation in. And you said, well, it's my first time, I guess I'll go, and presented it to 250 students all at once. And there was a lot of lessons learned, but also a lot of amazing takeaways. So I'd love to hand the floor over to you, Beth, to talk about your first time experience presenting ticket to 250 third and fourth grade students.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. It was a lot of fun. And before I get started, Sue, Allison, just want to say really impressive what you guys have done with the program and getting graphic involved. I think you have some really good tips there. I'm going to talk to you a little bit different, and this was my first ticket. So I had a lot of questions, and Emily and Ben were great with answering questions. And so I started to, my kids actually, when we did this, were, I think, in their last year of middle school. So they had been out of elementary school for, 2 years and going on 3 years at that point. And so I had to find my way through the elementary school to a contact to the science teacher, because she was new at that time. But once we connected, she was very, very interested in working with us. I think we connected that year probably in February, and we implemented the program on Earth Day. And so we pulled it off pretty quickly. And that was one of our learnings, was to engage the school earlier than that, at least for us and here in Georgia, because we are ready to go on Earth Day. But I think the biggest thing that I could say is, it takes some coordination, it takes some planning. I engage a couple of people. Emily, of course, has talked about how she was so gracious to come down and join me for the ticket program. And also John O'Neill, who is our president of Global Paper at West Rock. And I can't speak for him, but you can see in this picture, he was smiling big. I think he had a good time too. I can say that I was super excited about the curriculum and being able to talk to the kids about paper and paperboard and how we make paperboard. So super excited about that. But what I wasn't prepared for is how much fun I would have doing it. And just after that program, I remember Emily and I sat down and debriefed and just were like smiling from ear to ear. It was so much fun. And I just didn't think that it would be that much fun. I thought that it would be fun, but I didn't think it would be that much fun. So I just can't encourage you guys enough to go out and, the steps are really easy and outlined with with the website that the PPC has put together. Put together a program. It doesn't have to be with 250. If you want to go for more than 250, you can. But even going into the classrooms, engaging, 20 kids, where it's a smaller setting, more intimate setting, is just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So I encourage you guys all to do that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I think from a perspective over here, I really loved Sue's setting goals and do one more classroom than you did before. And I think that from PPC's perspective, we are happy for anyone to get started in the ticket program. And if you go into one classroom with 25 students, mm-hmm. If you're making a difference in one person's life, we think that is worth celebrating. So I know that I'm sharing big wins from our teammates here, but it's the small wins too. So we are very happy to support any organizations who say, okay, let's start by going into one classroom, and what do we need? I really appreciated your shout out, Beth, about Earth Day. It lined up perfectly with Earth Day, and so some of that programming it works really well to reach out to schools now and say, hey, Earth Day is coming in April. We'd love to do
mm-hmm.
this this program, but it doesn't have to be, right? It can be, take a look at your, another learning that we discovered, Arbor Day Foundation, we have a link where you can purchase saplings, but we, I think, Beth, that you shared that you worked with the local nursery who gave you an even better price point of local saplings, and they worked with you really well, and they could say, oh, the best time to plant this is April, or the best time to plant this is September. So this is a program that can span across the year. We just happen to roll it out now with the Earth Day celebration. And one other thing, just before I move on about social media, is that there is no wrong way to ticket. So taking the program and the materials that we've put together as a baseline and making it your own, getting into the classroom and just talking to students about paperboard and the industry and sustainability. I think there is not a way that you can do it wrong. So you're not going to come to us and say, oh, we changed this PowerPoint. Is this okay? That is perfectly fine. We just want to give you the tools and the inspiration to get it into the classroom and to really make it your own. I took a little snapshot here of Beth on social media. We do have some social media templates, and we encourage you to get social. So use #ticket so that we can track and celebrate together. And we are really hoping that 2022 is just the year for Ticket, that we can get back into the classroom, back in person, and take all of our learnings and all of the tools that we had to create in the virtual setting and apply them to have a bigger impact next year. I will share with you that the frequently asked questions page on ticcit.info is a really great place to say, here's just a couple of the questions. And so we put together a list of all of the questions that we often get asked. And so if you're wondering, if you have a question, I'd say hop over there. If you don't have the answer, please feel free to reach out to any of us on the PPC team. And if I don't have the answer, I know who to contact. My league of ticketers here.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if you saw there were questions in the chat. Did you want to talk about them or not?
Oh yes, I do. I absolutely do. So I'm just going to do one recap, and then I'm going to open up the floor. And thank you for pointing that to me. All right. So I'm just going to do a quick recap. This is also available on the website. So 6 steps, and we kind of, mark them out, create that ambassador, reach out to your local elementary school, download the ticket presentation, read through the scripts, order your tree saplings, invite the press, and then have lots of fun. So if you can kind of think about that in 6 easy steps, step 1 is really just to learn about the program and reach out to your local school. And now I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Okay. Let me see. How far in advance would you recommend ordering the tree saplings? That is a great question. I'm gonna toss it over to Beth for that one. That your experience ordering tree saplings, and then I'd also love to hear from Sue as to how are you ordering tree saplings across the country?
Yeah, I think that really the key to that is understanding when they're going to be delivered, and reaching out to if you're going to work with the local grower as to how far in advance they would want to receive the order. So I would say, reach out at least a month in advance, maybe more, to coordinate it, and then place the order at the appropriate time for what works with the grower to deliver. Be prepared, in full disclosure, for the trees to arrive maybe a little bit early. That happened with the local grower that we worked with. So we found a way around that to keep the trees or the saplings in good condition until the actual event happened.
Beth, were you asked to keep them cold? Because I think we were asked to keep them cold, but I think the refrigerator dried them out. Do you remember?
Yeah, I know we wanted to keep the root balls wet or damp. Yeah. But I think the grower can talk to you about that specifically as well. Yeah. So I would encourage you to ask those questions when you're coordinating with the grower or with Arbor Day.
Yeah, that's a great point, Beth, because we typically we're telling our people, 45 days in advance to contact someone, because they need at least 30 days to kind of get the orders coordinated. And I will mention that a lot of our sites have had great success getting either free or very low cost saplings by going to like the state's DNR website or contacting somebody at the Department of Natural Resources, or even some of the big, local big box stores. Sometimes we'll do a nice discount on tree saplings. And it's also important, Beth, I think you mentioned this too, about the type of tree. So make sure that, you're getting something that's appropriate for the area you're in. Or else, you set yourself up for a little bit of
good point.
And I will say that the Arbor Day Foundation website can be helpful in that way. What tree can I plant? And maybe you take that information, and we do love the Arbor Day Foundation. They're fantastic, but some of our local partners can be more helpful. So it's oftentimes you can get information from there, and also do kind of a combination of where are you going to actually source those saplings. Mm-hmm. The next question that came in is, did you find elementary schools are open to the ticket program now that you have so many COVID restrictions? And Gabriella, what a great question. And I think that is the reason why we went to a virtual setting. And I know that I have heard of many member companies doing a hybrid, sending them the PowerPoint presentation, maybe being available on Zoom, but then hosting a planting session outside, and bringing that. I do know that my daughter's school here in Massachusetts, they just lifted the mask mandate, so it feels like there might be some changes coming through. I'd love to open up the floor to our guests. And have you heard of anything in schools that how are you planning to promote the program this year?
Sure, I'll jump in. I mean, we just this week sent out a note to all our HR managers at all our sites, just saying, what's the feel in your area right now? And we're leaving it up to them to come back to us and let us know, by region or by state, how open schools are to it. Like you're saying, I'm seeing a lot of the mask mandates. I think Illinois is one big one that has lifted theirs or will be soon. So I'm very hopeful we can get in person in a lot of these. But I think this year we're still going to have to be a little bit flexible.
Yeah, and I think, and Emily, you and the PPC have definitely set us up to be very flexible with that, and especially with the video. We implemented a virtual program last year with one of our schools, and actually it was school-wide. It was a smaller school, but it was school-wide, and they all watched the video, and then they handed out the saplings because that was easier for the school. So they modified it a little bit. But what I thought was really interesting is they had an incentive at the school for the kids to send video or pictures of them planting the trees. So they got a lot of great pictures from all of the kids as they planted the little saplings in their yards.
That's a great point, Beth. And, we did host a little bit of a scholarship contest last year through PPC, and I think we had a lot of lessons learned. But one of the takeaways was incentivizing parents to send in photos and content. And, how can you use that as a social opportunity for parents to, tag GPI, tag West Rock, and, be entered to win a X amount gift card. And I think there's really a way to kind of connect and incentivize students to take it home, share it with their families, and for them to connect back with us on social media.
Emily, I wanted to, before we go to the next question, I wanted to make one quick comment about taking the trees home and planting them. One learning we had just recently, or actually in 2019, was I had a child ask a question, what if I live in an apartment? We don't have a yard. And it kind of threw me because I had gone on this assumption that everybody goes home and has a little yard to plant in or whatever. And actually it worked out well because the school had set aside they decided to set aside an area where the child could plant the tree. Or in situations like that, maybe you have a smaller type of plant that you can give them to take home and still plant and nurture and understand, the growing process and all that. So we had to be a little flexible on some of these things, but I just wanted to throw that out there as a cautionary tale.
Yeah, and I'm going to toss it over to.
Oh, I just want to weigh in for 1 second, Em, about what we did here in Springfield, and maybe you were going to talk about it, is we found after the first year that we found that exact same problem. And what we did instead was we went out and bought a more mature tree that was like 5 feet tall. And we went to the Boys and Girls Club, or in our town, the Martin Luther King Center, which is in the south end of town here. And we actually planted the tree. But then we also, just so you all know, those trees need a lot of water in the first X amount of months. So we actually did not necessarily rely on the school or the Boys and Girls Club. We had a teammate who would occasionally once a week go over and dump 5 gallons of water on there so that the tree took. So thanks to that's a really smart thing. And it's a lovely thing. You could still do the same thing. The kids were all gathered around and we pre-dug the hole and they all got to shovel the dirt in the hole. And it was still pretty fun.
Yeah. And a tip for that we learned too was to dig the hole in advance and make sure that you are connecting with the Department of whoever that there are no lines or
we've learned that the hard way as well. Yeah, thanks, Em. It wasn't pretty.
But Ben, I think it's a great feedback that you could even do both, right? You can have a tree planting experience. I can't remember who the company is. 2 years ago, before we went virtual, they did a ceremony where they had all of the kids write a sustainability wish on a piece of paper, and paper is biodegradable. And, so it kind of reinforces this idea as well. So the kids wrote a wish for the future and they put it into the hole and then they planted the tree. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities to say, what is the ticket program and how are we doing that, even in urban areas, if they can't take the tree sapling home and plant it with them. Next question, and this is a great question, is how the program can be tailored to a younger audience, and should you focus on 4th graders? Thank you, Karen. I'll share my feedback that my daughter is in 2nd grade, and there are definitely, the way that the program is built, it can definitely go into that 2nd grade level. They're understanding these things. My suggestion is that 3rd and 4th grade level, that there's a little bit more maturity around some of the topics that are being discussed, but I don't think that it goes without a benefit for the younger classrooms. And I think that's just in terms of how you are presenting and, the language that you're using. Sue, Beth, Allison, any feedback in terms of ages?
I'll jump. Oh, Beth, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. So we ran into the same thing. One thing you want to be careful is if you're going to a repeat location, that you're not giving it to the 5th graders that last year you gave it to the 4th graders.
That's what I was going to say too, Sue.
Okay, yeah, because it gets a little old. But the other thing is we did, when we talk about personalizing the presentation, we did kind of make a younger student, older student version. So in the younger student, we kind of simplified the terms a little more, or didn't necessarily talk about, sustainability in the way we would talk about it to an older student. So there's there's a little leeway in the presentation itself where you can, tone it down for the younger kids. I don't personally recommend going much lower than 3rd grade. I think, Emily, for the reasons you say, at that point, you're not quite getting the same message across. So you do need a little more science background behind that. So I would say 4th grade is kind of the sweet spot, but you can even go up into 5th and 6th without totally losing the audience.
Yeah,
totally agree with you on the audience, and just reiterating your point around if the school wants to go to a class that's lower, or even do the whole school, which we did do that for the last year with the virtual program. Think about how you're going to if they want to do the program next year, it's probably going to not be as relevant to those kids that are going up a grade and seeing the same content again.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Our next question is about a timeline. If we were to walk through a timeline to plan a ticket event this year, and I would say, start now. If this is your launch period, use the next 3 or 4 weeks to identify who your ticket ambassadors are and identify, start the outreach to the schools. And then I think that the outreach to the schools, you need that. I like that 45-day, having 6 weeks in advance to say, okay, we're gonna determine that this is the date, and it's it has 6 weeks, so that you have the amount of time to get all of your supplies together, understand the program. So I think step 1 is identifying that ambassador. reaching out to the school, and then picking a date that is 6 weeks later. Any other ideas or thoughts about timeline and thoughtful ways to execute this year?
Yeah, I would say to really start out with the school's schedule. So if you're doing a school or even a scouting thing, begin with the end date and then kind of move backwards. But like you said, I think a minimum of 6 weeks is really necessary. Not only, I mean, everybody's got busy schedules. So not only to get the ambassadors that you need, but to be able to buy the supplies, get the saplings ordered, all that kind of thing. But it really kind of hinges on what the school's availability is and when it fits into their curriculum.
Mm-hmm. But I think, I don't want to discourage folks with the Earth Day being in April, because I think for a lot of locations, April, May, first couple of weeks of June when students are still in school, that can be, depending on your location, still a great time to plant.
And the further north you are, the more problematic it is. So our members in Canada have trouble in that time frame because it is still a little early. So it is definitely, the further north you are, the more complicated it is. But we encourage people in Canada to do ticket, and we do have members that are doing it.
I would say that even if you reach out to the schools now, and you can't get on their calendar for whatever reason, this is a great introduction to the program and understand their timeline for getting on the calendar next year and implement it. So it's not a wasteful activity to go out and reach out to the schools right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great
point. To piggyback on what Ben just said, some of our, northernmost sites have actually started, instead of focusing on Earth Day, they will do them fall of the next school year. So, August, September, October is a good planting time for some of those regions. So yeah, don't get too attached to Earth Day. It's, branding wise, it's obviously ideal, but there are other opportunities to introduce it as well.
I love this next question from Wanda Spear. What are your thoughts on working with a local library to promote and conduct the program as an alternative to a school? Library, Boy and Girl Scouts, I think any kind of youth groups or youth organizations, getting creative. We went to the Ludlow we went to the Boys and Girls Club and did programs there. Any other thoughts, Sue, Beth, Allison, as to different programs and how you're reaching out to communities?
Absolutely. I mean, Allison had mentioned one of our retirees works with a gardening club, a local children's gardening club in Georgia, and he's had great success doing it there. Like you mentioned, the Boys and Girl Scouts. There used to be, I think there was even a badge at some point that you could get through Boy and Girl Scouts, but I think they may have discontinued that. But we encourage anyone, even if it's a church group, like you're saying, a library, after school program, anything like that. It absolutely does not have to be a school.
Wonderful. Oh, this is a good question. Mary Beth, have you had any luck following up with a class the next year to see how their trees have grown? I don't have an answer to that. Anybody?
I think I'm going to reach out to the class that we worked with last year to see if they have any pictures, and maybe they can incentivize their students to send in pictures of the saplings that have grown over the past year.
That is a great question.
Yeah. I don't know that any of us have had that experience, but I think that's great feedback to make sure that you're staying in touch, and that could be part of, as Sue mentioned and Beth mentioned, the picking one grade so that each year you're going back and talking to that new grade, but that could be part of your outreach of reaching out to that new grade and also connecting with last year to see how that tree, their sapling, is growing. Who pays for the seedlings? Karen, great question. The company or the school? So typically this is a program that is sponsored by an organization. So, we would go in and say, hey, we have a free program that we are offering to you. We're going to pay for the saplings, and the benefit to you is the education, and make sure you get your photo waivers. I will mention that. That's important. So that's typically how it's happening right now, is that member companies are paying for this as a community outreach initiative. yeah, I don't know if I have any other, do you have any other thoughts or any other ways that this program has been funded?
That's, I mean, that's how we do it here.
That's how we do it.
And another thing we do is we provide T-shirts to our employees that are going off to the sites. So it's another kind of a fun little perk of doing
Ooh,
ticket.
I like that. Learning.
Yeah,
from-
you get
I
this,
like that a
you know.
lot.
Yeah.
And we
And I-
actually, here's another tip, whatever. If you're doing a smaller event, we also provided T-shirts for the kids. So, and we also include like a little giveaway. If we're not doing T-shirts, we always give them like a pencil. We did like some cool bracelets one year, but then we found out kids had latex allergies. So that was a learning. Don't do the bracelets. But definitely like, you know, a pencil or something like that is a nice little giveaway. Coloring books we've done.
How about a
stuff
box of candy? I know their dentists would be happy, but something in a folding carton sounds like a good idea. We use polo shirts. We went above. We got collars instead of just T-shirts. So.
Wow.
But we're happy to give, you know, the vector file of the ticket logo, and we're always using ticket in fun and new ways, like ticketeers, and we're ticketing, and you know, what kind of ticketers are you? So the more creative, again, although we have integrity behind the ticket logo, I think we are all very much excited for folks to make this program their own and have a lot of fun and customize it. So I love those T-shirts. It sounds like maybe we could do a T-shirt contest as to the most creative ticketer. Do we have any other questions, friends, that I've missed? Well, I would just like to thank you, Sue, Beth, Allison, everybody on this call, for your passion and dedication and enthusiasm. And I can tell you that it's absolutely the funnest part of our day to be able to talk about Ticket and be able to track and measure the success of this program and to see all the young minds that we are inspiring across the country. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And we look forward to seeing your photos and hearing about your results. And like I said, I'm at emily@paperbox.org and happy to hop on a call, happy to answer any questions, and also happy to connect you with any of my fellow ticketers here. If you have a specific question, get creative, share your feedback, and we look forward to hearing all about your success.